I hope this doesn't come out of the holder. It feels like it's not too steady there. Oh man. Yesterday was the first time I was able to zoom in, so I'm gonna just liking that now. Alright, don't get seasick. Hang in there. Alright, we're doing fine. Alright, so tonight is part 2. Strange Bible stories, or whatever it said. Stories from the Bible. I think that's what it said. Let's go back and look, shall we? There it is. Oh, there it is. Oops, there it is. All right, Strange Stories from the Bible, Part 2. It is Part 2. Yesterday we had Part 1. We went over, I think, 13, if I remember right. 13 strange Bible stories, which are actually an article called Most Disturbing. Actually, I'll pull it up here. I did put up the link yesterday. I could put up this link again, too. Let's see here. Let us find out. All right. I'm going to put the link for this article. I think it's kind of cool. Copy. It's called... Actually, let me get a backup picture. There you go. The most disturbing parts of the Bible ranked. And it started at 23, and we're down to 13 now. We're going to be down to... I don't know. We're on 13. I don't know which direction we're going. Minnesota drivers are pissed about this new rule change. Well, it's time to get a cup of coffee and calm down. All right. Ads, huh? All right. So anyway, that is the plan. Stan, we are going to be doing... Oops, let me try to do this here. Welcome to whoever came in, and thank you for the thumbs up. I'm going to try to... Here we go. Zoom out a little bit. There we go, huh? There we go. All right. There we go. There. Now it's fitting on the screen. All right, so where we are. So we went through all of these. We went through... Actually, if you weren't here yesterday, let's just recap what we did yesterday. So yesterday we started with this two-part series, Part 1 and Part 2. Yesterday was Part 1, and this is what we went through. We went through tons of ads that popped up in our way. Oh, hey. Hey, Lucian, good to see ya. I'll have it in the background, so I may not be interacting that much, but thanks for shining a light on the Bible. Thank you. Thanks for coming in and saying hi. And I appreciate you having it in the background. And you know what, Lucian? That's what I do all day. I have YouTube videos in the background while I do stuff. And so I never chime in on a chat. And so I totally get you. And thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Yes, we are shining light. The light bearer. We're shining light on the light bearer, probably, huh? Well, you're welcome. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate your feedback there, your comments. And anyway, a good night. Yeah, let's see, how many years ago? I came on 2016. 2017, they started letting us do live streams. So 2017, I started doing live streams. And I did about 2,000 live streams. The first 2,000 were trying to prove the Bible is right and study it and show everybody how true it is. And it actually ended up to be after many, many years of studying every night here, it actually ended up proving it's actually the other way, that it's not true and not God's holy word, and it's not infallible, and it's not perfect, and it's all that. In fact, I'm going to show you tonight more contradictions and more just stuff that just don't even make sense. You know what I just thought before I came on here? I thought, isn't it funny that you can go to church your whole life, and your parents and grandparents and your kids and grandkids, and we can all go to our church our whole life. We'll never hear these stories. These are the stories they don't tell you. Okay, so that also then leads me to another question. Then why waste our time? Why put all this crap in the Bible if they're not even going to listen? If your own church doesn't even want to tell you these stories, there's a couple problems with that. Problem number one, they could be hiding something. Problem number two, there's more problems. They're cherry picking. You're not getting the whole story. You're getting a little fraction of what the Bible is, because they don't encourage you really to read it on your own. God forbid, that's the last thing they want you to do is read it on your own, because you'd be out the door with your money. And there's a lot of problems with it. So anyway, we're going to recap what we did yesterday. And thanks for being here. I appreciate that. Good to see you tonight, Lucian. All right, so 23. We'll go through the ones that we went over last time. Last night, actually. Jesus takes out his anger on a tree. Yeah, great story with no point to it. Except Jesus gets mad and kills the tree because it didn't have fruit on it, which was out of season and shouldn't have had fruit anyway. That was weird and made no point. Didn't really make him look good. Anyway, next. And it doesn't even say, a lot of times they'll tell a story and then sooner or later they'll get to the part where what you're supposed to learn from it, and like a parable. And you know what's weird about the parables? A lot of times in the parables, if you notice, they'll tell a parable. Okay, they'll tell a parable about whatever. Pick one. Which is really a riddle. It's kind of like a riddle. And why the heck would you write a manual this serious in riddles? Like a Batman episode, Anyway, the Riddler. What they'll do is they'll give you a parable, and then they'll say the parable. Say the parable of the parable. Here's a good example. The parable of the seeds, sowing the seeds. They'll tell you that parable. Then they'll end that and then talk about something else for a little bit. Then out of nowhere they say, here's what the parable of the sower of the seeds means. Blah, 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 blah. And it's kind of funny because by this point you've even forgot about the story. Oh yeah, that story that was, I don't know, a few pages ago. Now you're telling us what it's about. Do you ever notice that with the parables? They won't tell you what it's about right away. They'll tell you the parable, and then they'll tell you another story. And then down the road, they'll oh, remember that story about the sower of the seeds? Yeah, here's what it meant. It's you probably forgot about that story, but you probably should have told us what it meant when you got done telling the story. But they'll put something in between to, I don't know, it's not good. Anyway, so like I said, in the chapters and the verses, and there's a lot of psychological games going on in the Bible to confuse you. And just we went over it one night. It's been a couple years, but one night I showed we should do this again. One night I showed how the Catholic Church, and I can't remember who it was. I had the name and everything, but anyway, we went through this. Oh, my dog. Let me move here. Hold on a second. He's got me all distracted. Here. Get out of there. Underneath my desk. Anyway, I totally forgot what I was talking about because freaking dog all of a sudden had to get out of here. Well, hey, Grace, how you doing tonight? Welcome and shalom to you too. Hope you had a wonderful Wednesday. Felt like Tuesday, but it was a Wednesday. All right. So, I'll try to zoom in so you guys can see. Start with the border wall. Oh goodness, are they coming out with Trump shirts now? Anyway, welcome. I hope you had a wonderful day, Grace. And this beautiful Minnesota spring. Actually, it's getting close to spring. Legit. And you know, I'm so happy Saturday we're turning the clocks forward. So we'll get an extra hour of daylight. Which is good. Days are getting longer and warmer. Headed in the right direction. All right, so also, last night we also talked about, I know I was talking about before, that was the parables, yeah. All right. Then the skeletal visions, we talked about this last night. This was dry bones, in Ezekiel, dry bones. They made a folk song out of it later. And then also in the book of Luke, how you're supposed to hate your family and gouge out your eye. That's right, direct orders from Jesus. And you know, you can only gouge out your eyes twice, and then you're completely blind the rest of your life. So, anyway. I mean, you know, and didn't you ever wonder, let's go back to this. I know we already went through this last night, but I just gotta say something. So if you're not supposed to lust after somebody, how are you supposed to date and get married and find your spouse? You see, they didn't have that in the Old Testament. They were still purchasing women like donkeys. And so there was no falling in love in the Old Testament or New Testament for that matter. Not even the New Testament. There's still, a wife is still a purchase. Anyway, so now fast forward thousands of years. It's not that way. And it probably was, you know what, and to be fair, it probably was only that way in Israel and maybe the Middle East. You know, it probably wasn't like that in other parts of the world. There probably were real husband and wives that were attracted to each other. But and you know what else doesn't really line up? Just say, wait a minute. Okay, if Judah, and all the other forefathers in the Old Testament, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, if they're all getting hookers all the time, they're getting prostitutes on the daily, some of them. And it was no big deal. It was just you had to make sure you paid them. The only disgrace is if you wouldn't pay the prostitute. So how are they not lusting after the prostitute? Why don't they poke their eyes out? If they wouldn't be going to the prostitute if they weren't lusting. Let's put it that way. And wouldn't have 1,000 women if he wasn't lusting. Let's just say. Let's keep going. Jesus kills animals. Yes, he does. He killed the pigs, the 2,000 pigs that were not his. These were sheep herders. I mean, not sheep herders. These were pig herders, pig farmers. The story even says that the pig farmers went into town and told everybody what the heck, it just ruined our business. And for nothing. Because the demons wanted you to? And you listen to them? It doesn't make no sense. 19, beheading of John the Baptist. Yeah. It's so funny how King Herod had his high standards that he's not going to kill John the Baptist because all the people like him so much and there might be some kind of a problem. But then when his stepdaughter does a belly dance in front of him, he's all like, okay, you can kill him. Like, wait a minute, I thought you just had high standards a second ago. Anyway. Oh, but that was before the stepdaughter started belly dancing in front of him. Oh, that's right. All right, that was a weird story. Like I said, these are not the stories you hear in church. Okay, gruesome deaths. The whole Bible, front to back, gruesome deaths. Anyway, they kind of went into a few of those. Really, the whole Bible is gruesome deaths. All of it. You know how gruesome it would be to watch somebody get stoned or beheaded or all that stuff? Goodness, crucified on a cross. I mean, all their stuff. Punishing the wrong person. Oh, we're going to do a whole night on that sometime coming up. Division. Casting stones. Look, they even have a wall that they stand against, so there's nowhere to go. Unreal. Oh boy. And these are, by the way, these are the rules for stoning. Like, sometimes they have their clothes on. If they have their clothes on, it lasts longer. If they get them naked, they die faster. So anyway, there's speculation. I mean, there's, what do they call it? Anyway, there's rules for that. Clothes on, clothes off. I lost my mouse. Somehow it's not working. Oh, it's, all right, that stupid thing. Come on. All right. These ads are just too much. Bystanders. Okay, here's where we left off. Okay, so here's where we left off yesterday. So here's number 14. We're going to start here tonight. That was a recap of last night, in case you weren't here. So, number 14. We're counting down, I think. Yeah, 15. Okay, now we're at 14. Oh, wait. Did we do the casting stones? I don't remember doing that. I know we didn't do the ark. Casting stones. I remember for sure we did this one. But I don't remember doing the casting stones. Did we? There are many cruel and unusual methods of execution in the Bible, though some are more common than others, such as beheading. One of them, stoning, refers to a group of people throwing rocks at a condemned person until they are killed. Sometimes the condemned person would be naked, which would allow the blows to kill them more quickly. While the Bible does include provisions for humane forms of execution, this seems particularly excruciating and humiliating. Yeah. Everybody in the town throwing rocks at you while you're naked until you're dead. Yeah, that's pretty not a good way to go. All right, 14. I mean, you know, God's supposed to be merciful and stuff. At least if you're going to be put to death, it should have been merciful. You know what I mean? It's sad to think that the state executioners in the United States have more, compassion for killing people than God did. You know, and not just saying that's how you should do it, but having other people, your other people, their brothers and sisters, fellow human beings, carry it out for you. Like, all right, God can do anything, right? So if you were supposed to be stoned to death, why didn't God put you by the wall? Why doesn't God have you stand by the wall, and then God can hurl rocks down and kill you? But you see how it makes it even more barbaric and sick that your friends and neighbors have to be the ones to carry out this barbaric execution. And even if it's people you don't know, it wouldn't matter. You have other human beings doing this brutality and just sick stuff to each other at the order of the God of the Bible. Like I said, God could say, okay, he's guilty, strike him dead with lightning. You know, have a meteor hit him down or a rock fall him, or make him he could just point at him and say, heart attack, and then just drop him. Like, why bring everybody else into it? Anyway. All right, so we're going to pick up here. bystanders near the Ark of the Covenant. This story was always so stupid to me. Never liked it. Another example of wow. All right. And actually, I got more things to say about this Ark of the Covenant thing, too. Like, really? All right, anyway. So, most people have heard this story, the bystanders near the Ark of the Covenant. So, God has these guys moving this thing all over the place. And he's got all these rules about, touching it, not touching it, whatever. Well, he's got these poles, so you don't ever have to touch it. The poles or whatever. But he's got real strict rules on how to, and this is another thing. Oh man, it makes no sense. All right, so at the time when they're telling these stories or they're writing these stories, they're telling you that God had just such a close eye on this thing all the time, but somehow it's disappeared forever. Nobody knows where it is, and the Bible can't even agree on itself. What the heck's going on? And then the New Testament, you get to the New Testament, they're just making up stuff. Okay, anyway, let's just see what they have to say first, and then I'll say my stuff. Hold on a second. Let's just sing. Look at this thing. It's just like I'm playing a video game down here, like whack-a-mole down here. While I'm doing this, I'm playing a whack-a-mole down here for these ads. Okay. As described in the Old Testament, well, let's say one more just pops right up. It just keeps popping up. All right. As described in the Old Testament, the Ark of the Covenant is a golden chest, not just golden, it's gold, chest containing sacred stone tablets, upon which are inscribed the 10 Commandments that God gave to Moses, right? 10 Commandments in there, right? That's pretty important, right? All right. In Samuel, as the ark is being transported, the holy object causes seemingly indiscriminate devastation everywhere it goes. This is so weird. How, God is just creating this storm around this thing wherever it goes. It's just anyway. You'd think it'd be the opposite. It'd be like the heavens open up and there's no problems and enemies get pushed away. No, this thing's causing trouble everywhere. Anyway, so when all right, as the ark's being transported, the holy object causes seemingly indiscriminate devastation everywhere it goes. In one instance, the Ark of the Covenant is seen by 70 people as it is moving through a city, and God kills them all. Yeah. Okay. Well, this apparently random violence is shocking. The most controversial death occurs later on. Actually, 2 deaths. And this, oh my goodness. Anyway, the Ark of the Covenant is being transported on an ox cart. One of the oxen stumbles, and the ark almost falls out. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, it was one guy on this one, yeah. When a man named Uzzah catches it to keep it from hitting the ground, God immediately kills him. What the heck? I don't know. I used to move furniture. I used to be a furniture mover. And I tell you, if something's starting to tip, nobody thinks. You just reach your hand and grab it. No matter what it is, you see it out of the corner of your eye, something's tipping, you don't even think, you just stop it from smashing or crashing. And so that's why I never got this, because can you imagine all of a sudden the ox trips. First of all, why would the ox trip? If God's supposed to making this path for you and have you helping you haul this thing, why would so right there, faulty, the whole thing's faulty. The ox trips and falls, and so the thing starts to tip over, and the poor guy just sticks his hand out and tries to stop it from tipping, which is an automatic No, it's like putting your hands up when something's about to hit your head. You don't even think what it is. You just do it. But as this man's automatic reaction to stop the thing, God kills him. Why? We told you not to touch it. Anyway, as noted in Walter C. Kaiser's hard sayings of the Old Testament, the fact that God killed someone for preventing a sacred object from breaking strikes most readers as wildly unfair, even after the 70 deaths earlier in the Ark's journey. So many unnecessary people are just a wake of dead bodies in the path of this thing. And then this guy who was trying to help, there's no evidence that Uzzah was doing anything other than important to God. According to Kaiser, anyone who touched a holy object would die. Even though Uzzah was trying to do the right thing, there can be no exceptions when it comes to God's threats. Really? Really? No exceptions, you say, huh? Who's the guy? Kaiser? Really, Kaiser? No exceptions to God's threats? Oh, man, have you read the Bible? In fact, just recently we went over all the people who got a big break. Look at King David. How many people did he murder, break commandments, murdered people, adultery, taking everything other people are getting stoned for every day? He's doing it constantly and getting promotions. And oh no, we can't let this guy get by with putting his hand out. But you can let King David get by with all this stuff. You can let all these people get by with stuff. You know what I mean? Oh my goodness. It's Solomon's. Anyway. I'm just going to move on. Oh, and by the way, you know what really makes no sense in this whole thing? You know what really makes no sense? After all this, all these people, dead bodies everywhere because of this thing, where is it now? Oh, well, I mean, some people say there's a church in Guadalupe, church. Anyway, no, it ain't. And then other people say, well, maybe it's yeah, they buried it. What happened? Yeah, Daniel buried it, and wait. Oh no, actually, well, we all know that it was it disappeared during the exile when they went into Babylonia. That's the last of it. Okay, nobody knows where it is. Really? Okay, so did God forget about this thing? Did he take his eye off it? Like he's watching every sliver of grass it passed. Now all of a sudden, God can't even tell you where it is? Like, really? It's funny, God's own loyal people who are trying to help this thing and love God get struck dead for that. But other people can come up in the Philistines. Everybody else can just come up and steal it and hide it and do whatever they want. Nothing happens? This makes no sense. And you know what else? Nobody can... You know what? Wait. Okay. There's just so much wrong with this. By the way, in the New Testament, all of a sudden, because ask anybody, well, what was in the Ark of the Covenant? We just read it. Actually, you can read it. The Ark of the Covenant, it's the 10 Commandments, right? The two stone tablets that, Moses got. It's 10 Commandments because it's so important. It's in this gold box. Obviously, somebody stole it for the gold, you know what I mean? And God didn't stop them. Anyway, so here's the thing, and we've gone through this before. Like, we play a lot of Bible trivia here, have for many, many years. Usually on Fridays. It's been Bible trivia night for many years, probably almost since I came on. Maybe 8 years or 7 years, I don't even know. So we played all different kinds of Bible trivia, and this will come up. What was in the Ark of the Covenant? Well, it depends who you ask. Because in the Old Testament, it'll tell you it was 2 stone tablets, right? Case closed. But you get into in the book of Hebrews, which nobody even knows who wrote that. The book of Hebrews will tell you that it was the 2 stone tablets plus Aaron's budded staff and a bowl of manna. They added 2 things. So now, according to anonymous writer, the book of Hebrews, in the New Testament, you've got a bowl of manna. Somehow it didn't get spilled or didn't melt. Because remember, as soon as the manna hit the ground in the morning, it was like dew. And if you didn't take it right away, it melted. But somehow the manna is like a bowl of Cheerios, I guess, sitting in the ark. Unspilled, untouched. But anyway, and also Aaron's staff that budded. Remember Moses' brother Aaron, his staff budded. A dead stick budded. Anyway, that's supposed to be in there now. Now, according to Hebrews, anonymous writer of the Hebrews, now there's 3 things in there. The 2 tablets and the manna and the bowl of manna and the budded staff. And then, but nobody knows where it is. Then you get to the book of Revelation at the end of the Bible, and you will see that they say that, guess where the Ark of the Covenant is? It's in heaven. Ah, psych, it's in heaven. Okay, but we've got no record of it. I mean, it was last seen going westbound on Highway Ishmael, you know what I mean? Nobody even knows. And now all of a sudden it's in heaven. Like, wait, there's a big part of that story missing. But yeah, in the book of Revelation, like, I don't know, somewhere in there, I think it's in the end. I don't know, but somewhere in the book of Revelation, they'll tell you that the Ark of the Covenant's there. Yeah, I've made it there. They could have shipped it, UPS. Not sure. No, anyway, so much wrong with that. This guy, like I said, look at all these people dying because of this thing. And all of a sudden it just goes missing. Oh, and don't forget. I almost forgot. I don't want to spend too much time on this arc thing, but I could. And I am. But anyway, I'm going to say one more thing. If anybody's following Ron Wyatt stories, I hope you like fiction, because none of that. It is such bull crap. We should do that some night. We should go over these Ron Wyatt stories. Oh my goodness. Oh man. Anyway, so Ron Wyatt claims that I think he was like crawling in a cave, at Golgotha, the place of the skull, which is Calvary, the hill, happens to be where Jesus was also crucified on Calvary Hill. Anyway, he seems to be, so Ron Wyatt is like crawling through this cave, and he noticed there's a crack, and he saw the Ark of the Covenant, you guys. Ooh, he did? Yeah. And he noticed that where Jesus was crucified up above, the blood had seeped down and dripped onto the Ark of the Covenant. And he was so overwhelmed that he passed out. And then he's not really sure. You know what is weird? He's somehow an archaeologist, but he's not. You know what he is? He's a nurse. Ron Wyatt was like a surgical nurse. I don't know. Anesthesiology nurse or something. He was a nurse. No archaeology skills or training at all. He went over there, found the Ark of the Covenant. It was so overwhelming he passed out. And I don't even know. Somehow he lost track of it. But he says it's there. And somehow thousands of years later, the blood. And we know it's Jesus because it made him pass out. Like, how do you know? I think they even asked him, how do you know it was Jesus' blood that dripped down onto the Ark of the Covenant? He said, because it made me pass out when I saw it. Anyway, so, like, then he says he found Noah's Ark, another ark. Do you notice that Ron Wyatt is involved in the arks? Noah's Ark, Ark of the Covenant. This nurse who didn't even bring so much as a shovel or a pick or a trowel, a spoon, one of them little brushes or toothpaste, nothing. Never even did nothing. Never didn't test nothing. Everybody just takes his word. Yeah, gullible people will buy anything. Anyway, so yeah, enjoy your fairy tales of Ron Wyatt. Oh my goodness. No training, no tools, no proof, no nothing, no evidence. Passes out when he saw that, like, what? Anyway, here we go to the next story. The rape of Dina. Oh my goodness, the rape of Dina. Is that what we're going to call it? There are a disturbing amount of stories featuring rape in the Bible. But one of the most controversial is the rape of Dina. Indeed, the story of Dina has been a popular topic for feminist biblical scholars since the 70s. In Genesis, a woman named Dinah is raped by a prince. Now, really, if you go back and read that story, you tell me what happens. She met the prince. Now, mind you, these are the psychopath brothers, the 12 brothers, 12 tribes. This is her sister. And she basically sneaks out of the house, ends up with this prince. They stay up all night having a good time. The brothers find out. It says, oh, she's raped. That's what this is. This is rape. Because they didn't want to look bad or some crap. Anyway, her father knew that the prince had raped his daughter, so he came up with a plan for revenge. Now, this is the for which story, and it just doesn't make no sense. He told the king that no dowry was required for his daughter's hand. And this is really what the dad was more upset about, the dowry. How much, hey, this king's going to pay me because obviously the prince or whatever, the prince is the son of the king. The princess is the daughter of the king. The prince is the son of the king. So obviously the prince is going to have some money. So I think that's more what it was about. He told the king that no dowry was required for his daughter's hand, but could only accept King Hamar's proposal if his son, the prince, and all the other men who followed them were circumcised. So this is their excuse for having all these people. What was it, 100 and something people cut the tip of their male part off. And, oh my God, what a sick plan. The prince was obsessed with Dinah, and so they agreed that they would force everyone to be circumcised. After the wedding, however, Dinah's family killed King Hamor and the prince. Afterward, Dinah's great family, great in-laws. Afterwards, Dinah's father and brothers destroyed the entire city where Hamor had ruled, killed the men, and enslaved the women and children. Oh, I see. It was so wrong that your sister snuck off with the prince and he didn't get pay daddy for it. So you kill them, you kill everybody, and then you take the women and the children and take them as sex slaves. Wow. Does this make any sense? He has 100 people cut the ends of their penises off, then kills them. I mean, just sick. I mean, and these are the stories you're not going to hear in church. You're not going to hear this sitting in the church on Sunday. Why not? Why not? Because if people hear this stuff, they're going to start to say, wait a minute, this is kind of weird. Anyway, 12, killing non-believers. Oh. All right, with them. And it's so weird. What's weird is that, like, believers in air quotes. So you got Christians and Jews that basically believe that non-believers are evil and they should be put to death. Well, so if they're caught up in the tribulation, I'll get murdered. They had it coming. because they didn't believe. Um, which really makes no sense when first of all, if we're supposed to only believe in one God, then why even allow these other gods through thousands of years and through the whole entire earth? Why allow all these other gods in to confuse the matter? You know what I mean? Why don't you just give us one choice? Anyway, killing non, and then you know the non-believers and call them evil. With the amount of warfare featured in the Bible, it's unsurprising that at some points God appears to endorse violence. Some passages are more explicit than others, but one in Deuteronomy is among the most disturbing, which states that if anyone encourages worshiping a different God, they should be immediately put to death. It specifically states that there can be no exceptions. Even though you're offered, from birth, basically everybody's, their family is offering them one God, but then there's other gods. And so you're biased and influenced and trained and brainwashed to believe in the God that your parents are telling you about. But it happens to be not this God, the Hebrew God, then you need to be killed. It makes no sense. Then, like I said, why let all these other gods slip past the goalie? You know what I mean? Don't have no other gods then. Don't exist if this, anyway. It's almost like, I don't know. It's like these. I remember this story because I used to watch all these true crimes, and there'd be like these psychopaths that would like up in Alaska, they'd like kidnap women and then like let them go and like hunt them and stuff, and just like creepy stuff like that. And yeah, it's creepy, but then again, and they know that they're probably not gonna survive. The kidnapper knows they're not gonna survive. They're put into this game of hunting these people or whatever they do, serial killers do, hunting them down and everything because it's fun, and it's fun for the sicko killer to watch the people scramble for their lives. And I really don't see what's different than to put somebody on earth and with all these different gods and all these different things that you're 99.99% not going to guess the right God. It's like, that's almost the same thing. It reminds me of those serial killers that they're making you play a game that they know you're going to be murdered in the end. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Okay, so what if you're not the right God and somebody else is? And anyway, so they should be immediately put to death. It specifically states that there's no exceptions, even if the person who's trying to even if the person who is trying to convince you to practice another religion is your friend, brother, wife, child, they should be killed. So that is a cult. Okay, if anybody doesn't like this God and they try to talk about something else, they need Jones. You know what I mean? That's anyway. This advice is seemingly put into practice in where God commands Moses to destroy an entire kingdom that does not follow their faith. Which is weird because they had multiple gods in the Old Testament. We all know it. Moses sends an army of 12,000 men who initially kill all the men in the kingdom and capture the women and children. Capture, yeah, to have sex with them. So, and this is what it is, it's human trafficking. But this enrages Moses. He commands them to kill all of the prisoners, leaving alive and enslaving women and girls. No, nothing. Goodness. You're not going to hear this in church on Sunday. And you know what? That brings us right into number 11, enslavement. Isn't that funny? Yeah. This is the do as I say and not as I do, or whatever. The rules are for thee and not for me. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? Through the whole Bible, you're going to see God telling you, yep, you can have slaves, have do what you want with them, beat them, just don't kill them. But you can beat them, you can do this and this and this. And in fact, they're not even classified as humans, fully human. As a matter of fact, you can go read the rules that God wrote, and he wrote rules to the slave owners, and he wrote rules for the slaves. Yes, God is speaking directly to the slaves, saying, obey your human masters and fear your human masters. Oh, what? Oh, this just in. Some of God's Israelites just got taken into slavery. What? This can't be. I hate slavery of my people. Like, wait a minute, God. You're all for slavery until your people get enslaved. Now it's the end of the world? You're going to kill all these more people? All of Egypt, all the babies and the families? Because somebody all of a sudden enslaved your special people? This makes no sense. Is slavery good or is it bad? It shouldn't be that hard. Oh, it's good when they enslave people, when Israelites enslave people. It's good. And there's lots of rules. But if somebody enslaves them, oh, hell no. Kill them. It just makes no sense. All right, so let's see what they have to say about enslavement. Yeah. In modern times, the enslavement of human beings is considered to be abhorrent in every conceivable much in the Old Testament. Wait a minute. It's also in the New Testament. Are you kidding? It's not just the Old Testament. It's in the New Testament too. Because what was it? Philemon? Was it the Philemon letter? Who was it? Whatever. Paul finds a runaway slave and convinces him to go back to the slave owner because it's the right thing to do. So the slave goes back to the slave owner and he gets killed. Thanks, Paul. So it's not just the Old Testament. In the New Testament, there's still slaves. In fact, Paul's all for it too. He's the one that said, oh man, it's not really right for you to run away from your slave owner. You should go back. Yeah. What was his name? Onesman or something? His name looked something like one something, but it was Ones something. Yeah, you should go back. It's only the right thing to do. And then when he goes back, what did they do? He gets murdered. Horribly murdered. I'm sure they beat the crap on him on the way out too. All right. So in modern times, anyway, but not so much in the Old Testament. Exodus 20 and 21, which, by the way, this is your 10 Commandments. Exodus 20 is your 10 Commandments. Verse 2 through 18, I think. I can't remember. No. Past that. But anyway. So this is 10 Commandments, which contains familiar 10 Commandments rules such as thou shalt not kill and thou shalt not steal. Also has rules about buying and selling human beings. Yeah, that's right. Well, just think about it. Abraham and Sarah had Hagar, the Egyptian slave that they human trafficked from Egypt. As well as how enslavers should treat them. Mm-hmm. One line states that if a servant dies while being beaten by their enslaver, then the latter shall be surely punished. However, if the victim survives for at least a couple days after the beating, there will be no punishment. So, like, if he dies that day, you might get some punishment. Not much. But if he dies a couple days later, if he hangs in there and then dies, then you're in the clear. This representation of enslavement in the Bible has been used to justify it thoroughly or throughout history, even as modern age dawned. According to Larry R. Morrison's paper in the Journal of Religious Thought, quote, the emphasis from slavery defenders was always upon a literal reading of the Bible, which represented the mind and will of God himself. Slavery was not only justified, but also moral, because it was recognized as such in the Holy Scripture. Really, until his people get enslaved. Like I said, then all hell breaks loose. Misogyny, number 10. I don't think we're going to get through all these tonight. Might have to go more tomorrow. My mouse is freezing up here. All right. In Leviticus 12, if a woman gives birth to a son, God tells Moses she will be ceremonially unclean for 7 days, and as she is unclean during her monthly period. It also states that purification will take 33 days. Interesting number. But if the baby is a girl, that takes twice as long. Furthermore, the new mother must also bring sacrificial animals to her priest to be offered up as burnt offering as atone for her sins. So actually, God, even though he told you to go forth and multiply, they actually classifies a woman who gives birth as A, unclean, and B, sinful. Giving birth is seen as a sin. How is that? How does she have to bring animals and kill them at the priest because she's sinful for having a child? And she's twice as sinful if it's a girl. Unreal. Deuteronomy is even harsher, stating that if a woman is a virgin, assaults her, he must pay her father for a rapist must get married and they can never get divorced. Yes, in the Old Testament. So if a young girl, a virgin, is raped, the rapist is caught, the rapist has to pay the father and he has to keep her the rest of her life. So she has to live with the rapist for the rest of her life, whether he likes it or not. And of course, she don't like it. Some have attempted to read these rules in a way that's less harsh towards women, such as interpretation shared by women in the scriptures, which explains, when she was pregnant, she was filled with potential life and the spiritual power of creation. When a child is born, that spiritual power departs. This makes no sense. And she becomes unclean. No sense. So when you give birth to a child, I guess your spiritual... We'll move on. Makes no sense. Say that, well, you see, what happens is when she has the baby, because the baby has life, right? Okay, the baby has life, and then when she has the baby, then for a minute there, she don't have a soul. Like, oh my gosh. I think I could have came up with something on the fly better than that. All right, human sacrifice, yes. Anyway. We just talked about this story the other day. While human sacrifice would be considered an abomination by biblical rules, except the whole New Testament revolves around a human sacrifice, but we won't get into that. The Bible does include stories of people planning to sacrifice human beings, including their own children. Many are similar with the story in Genesis where Abraham is told to sacrifice his only son, which is not his only son. Hello. Ishmael was his firstborn son. Why did they keep saying that? This was his second kid born. And this first one's still alive, by the way, when this happened. All right. He's told to sacrifice his only son. Which, you know what, it shouldn't even have counted, really. They should have cried foul on this one. They should have cried a technical foul on this one because that wasn't your firstborn son. Ishmael was. So that wouldn't even have counted anyway. You know what I mean? Why isn't nobody calling foul? Oh my goodness. Makes my... All right, he's told to sacrifice his own. Okay, we'll go along with that. As a test of his loyalty, only to be stopped by the last second, at the last second by an angel. Jephthah, the ancient Israelite judge and warrior, was not so lucky. In Judges, Jephthah swears to God that if he is victorious in his upcoming battle, he will make a burnt offering sacrifice of whoever comes out the door of his home when he returns. Well, who the heck did you think was going to come out of your house when you returned? Obviously, a family member. Was he going to think a goat? This makes no sense, too. God should have right away said, Jephthah, what are you talking about? I don't accept human sacrifice. He's just like, you know what, God? I'm going to sacrifice the first. Listen, if we do good and if we win this next upcoming battle, if we win the upcoming battle, it's like, hey, if we win the Super Bowl, I promise I will sacrifice the first family member that comes out of my house when I get home. And so he gets home, and the daughter comes out of the house and is like, oh, no, I got to kill the daughter. Well, who did you think was going to be? It was either going to be your wife or another wife or kids or more kids or daughter or sons. Like, you acting all shocked it was a family member? First of all, why would he think that he should even, why would Jephthah, why would he even make this proposal to God? All right. First question, why would he even offer a human sacrifice to God? Right? Because God doesn't take human sacrifice. So why is he doing that unless God, it was acceptable? 2, God should have said, no, I don't do that kind of stuff. 3, then God should have made him lose that battle. Right? I mean, this is the same God, right? And make him lose the battle. That way you don't have to do it. And then talk to him later about the human sacrifice problem. And then last of all, God should have, listen, if God intervened when Abraham is about to kill his kid, why didn't God intervene when Jephthah was about to kill his daughter? As a matter of fact, God and everybody had more time than anybody to think about this. Because he's like, oh crap, my daughter came out of the house. Now I got to human sacrifice her. All right. But he's like, all right, daughter, you're never going to know, you're never going to be owned by a man. You're never going to be purchased. So why don't you go in the wilderness and mourn about that a little bit? Or I don't know if it's her idea or his, but anyway, they agreed. Yeah, she's going to go, bum out not bearing children. That's the whole thing. Go, be upset that you're never going to bear children, and then come back and I'm going to kill you. And she does. She goes and I guess mourns about not ever having children or something, and then comes back and the dad kills her. Why didn't God say, hey, wait a minute, Jephthah, stop, don't hurt the daughter? No. Green lighted all the way from the beginning. All right, where are we at? 1 hour? Yeah, we're certainly not going to get through 8 more. Maybe we can stop at the killer bears. That looks like a Kodiak bear. We got brown bears up here. There's one living back by my pond, I hear. The neighbors have seen them. I have bear mace, but it's expired. But I still have it. I bought it when I moved up here. It was like $40 back then. Now, and it empties the whole canister. It's a bear mace, and you pull the thing off of it, the tab, and it shoots out for like the whole can empties out all at once. Shh. And I think it empties out in like, I don't know, 10 seconds or 20. It says on the can. It's orange, and oh boy. But anyway, I still have my mace on my porch there. Thank God I haven't had to use it. But it's expired, so I'm hoping if I have to use it on anything, I hope it'll work. So anyway, but yes, and when I moved up here, there's bear poops all around my house, really close up by my door and everything. He was over here snooping around when nobody lived here. But anyway, he's been in the neighbor's backyard, and they threw things at him and yelled at him, and he ran. And then they heard that if you pour Lysol on the grass, like Lysol or Pine Sol. Yeah, it was Pine Sol. So if you put Pine Sol on the grass, they won't come in your yard. So they said they did that. And I said, really, where does that bear live? And they said, in your backyard. I'm like, what? He said, yeah, he lives back by your pond. I'm like, oh, hell no. Anyway, I got a lot of it fenced in here, so I'm more worried about the dogs than me, you know. And this is spring coming up, and man, is it dangerous to be up here in the spring because these animals get crazy. That's why my dog got last April. My dog got a mouthful of porcupine quills. He got his face. He chased a porcupine, and the porcupine shot him in the face with quills in his face. And he had anyway. That was like 8 o'clock at night, right before the sun went down. We were just coming in, going from the garden, coming in, and we weren't fenced in. And anyway, dogs took off, and I was screaming at him. Anyway, next day the dog had to go to surgery, and it was very expensive. He had to be put under anesthesia while they pulled all the quills out of his face and out of his nose and everything. You know, I didn't know crap. I'm from the city, man. I didn't know about this stuff. Like, what the heck? My dog comes running out of the weeds, like going crazy. Runs right up to me and drops on the ground crying. I'm like, what? And I see all this stuff sticking out of his face. Man, my thing's all jacked up here. I don't know. I think I'm froze up here. Not really sure why. Oh, there we go. I don't know. Computer's all froze up. Anyway, probably time to stop for tonight. We'll finish the rest tomorrow, which is Thursday, which is good. Because Friday we always do Bible trivia and an open chat. Uh-oh, I think I just crashed. Alright. My computer's not. Alright. A second. Anyway. Well, we'll just wrap it up then. My computer's locked up. So, anyway, I can't even see the chat, so I will just say good night. As you can see, I've got the death spiral there. Anyway, yeah, looks like I'm just gonna get off of here because anyway, I can't even get back on right now. So this is the Grand Teton National Forest, I think. All right, so I'll just say good night. Thanks for coming in. Good to see you, Grace, and good to see you, Lucian, and anybody else that came in. Thanks for coming in. If you gave me a thumbs up, thanks for the thumbs up. And I hope to see you tomorrow night. We will have part 3, the last part to this series. And Friday will be Bible trivia as usual. This stupid thing. Anyway. Will I get back on? We may never know. Did she ever get back online? We may never know. All right, well, I'll say goodnight, and thanks for coming on. Hope to see you tomorrow night. Have a good rest of the evening, day, whatever it is for you. And have a awesome day tomorrow. If it's Thursday, whatever it is. Have a good. All right, awesome. Peace. Rock on. Peace out. Shalom. Arrivederci. And good night.